Hi everyone, Jim here. Welcome to my channel. It's been a while since we just kind of sat down and did a reading update. I know everybody normally does it on a Friday, kind of a Friday reads update. I thought I had time today. I thought I would sit down and we could just talk about what I've been reading lately. It's bitterly cold outside. I hope everybody's safe and warm wherever you are. It's been an interesting week so far. I came into February feeling a little apprehensive, a little anxiety ridden because I had to do a show with Robert E. Howard Foundation Press, and we recorded it February 1st. So a lot of my focus coming into February was to read the stories that were given to me as homework by John over at the Robert E. Howard Foundation Press channel. And if you haven't seen it, I'll put a link down below. We talked about the relationship between C.L. Moore and Robert E. Howard, and we talked about their characters, Jirel of Jouari, Dark Agnes, Agnes de Chastillon, and Red Sonia of Rogatino in Robert E. Howard's story, Shadow of the Vulture. So, as I said, I came into February, and I shouldn't get nervous about these things, but I do. I was a little, I think I overthought things. So I came into February. I wanted to get all my reading done and get all my homework done. There was also some letters that he sent over that C.L. Moore had sent to Robert E. Howard and Howard's father. And so like I always do, I overthink things, and I got a little nervous about it. So that's where my focus was, on the reading for that episode over on their channel. And again, it was reading Jirel of Jouari by C.L. Moore. And we were supposed to read the stories Black God's Kiss, Black God's Shadow, and Jirel Meets Magic. And I read those. I only read those ones once. I'd read them before, but I read those once for the episode. And we also had to read Shadow of the Vulture, which appeared in this story. And Shadow of the Vulture is the story that Red Sonia of Rogatino appears in. And Dark Agnes, who appeared in these stories, Sword Woman, and the stories that we had to read in that volume were Sword Woman and Blades for France. And I read these ones over twice. I'd read them before years ago. Obviously, I had these on my shelf for years. I read them already, and I reread them again and reread them once again for the episode with Robert E. Howard Foundation Press. And those stories also appear in this book, Sword Woman, by Del Rey Press. So, it was interesting. It was a great show, great episode. I mean, I always, as I said, once I start the show, when I sit down and I'm talking to people, I'm fine. It's the lead up to it that kind of gets me all anxious and stressed out, and that's an awful thing. But that's me, and I've come to accept it. But I was on the show. Jeff from Jeff's Cave of Cool Books was on the show, and Molly Tanzer was on the show, and she is currently writing new Jirel stories for, I think it's called New Edge magazine. So she was nice enough to send her first story along to us, and we read that one, and it was an awesome story. And she's written two others, which will be appearing in the magazine, and she's made an agreement with the estate of C.L. Moore to write more stories of Jirel, and I can't wait for those. I mean, it's just pure sword and sorcery, really well done, and Molly was a pleasure to talk to on the episode. And again, I thank John for inviting me on. I mean, it was a big deal for me. I mean, I have to admit, I've been reading Robert E. Howard since 13 or 14. I can't remember exactly when I started around that time. And, to be able to appear on that and talk about Robert E. Howard and talk about his characters, that was kind of a big deal for me, and that, again, that's part of the reason why I was so stressed out going into it. But the good news is we will be talking about Robert E. Howard's Westerns in a future episode. John hasn't set a date for that yet, but he's invited me on to talk about the Robert E. Howard Westerns, which is a great thing, and I'm really, really looking forward to that. So yeah, that was me coming into February, and it's not like I had enough stuff to worry about with Holmes is Where the Heart Is starting February, but because it was what it was, I just kind of focused on the Robert E. Howard stuff, and then once that was done, then I started worrying about the Holmes is Where the Heart Is stuff. And I had actually started to read Prisoner of the Devil, and I just finished this off today, as a matter of fact. This is the group read for Holmes is Where the Heart Is. And I probably should have maybe waited till the end of the month, but I kind of wanted to get this done. And we will be talking about this on a live stream, which I'll be hosting on February 27th. And I think I made it for noon, or I'm going to make it for noon, so that we can get the UK guys in to talk as well. But yeah, I really enjoyed this, and this is by Michael Hardwick. And I won't go into detail about it now, but as I said, we will be talking about this at a later date. I find it interesting that a Sherlock Holmes story, a fictional character, fictional story, deals with real world events that happened back in the day, and that was fascinating to me. But what tied into this story was the short story by Arthur Conan Doyle, the Bruce Partington plans that appeared in this. I do believe it was in His Last Bow, the book, His Last Bow. And it deals with espionage and intrigue and the trading of international secrets between countries. And so there's characters that appeared in the Arthur Conan Doyle story that appear in The Prisoner of the Devil by Michael Hardwick. Now, The Prisoner of the Devil was just full of little Easter eggs like that, which just kind of made it a fascinating read. So I thought, to follow up Prisoner of the Devil, I would read the Bruce Partington plans, because it was a canon week, the first week for Holmes is Where the Heart Is, to read something by Arthur Conan Doyle. So that's what I read this week. I didn't get as much reading done as I would have liked for of Arthur Conan Doyle Holmes stories. As I said, I had other stuff going on, but at least I got one story in for that. And I'm not too sure what I'll read yet for the second week, for nonfiction week. I've got some of these Sherlock Holmes review magazines that I will probably be reading the articles from these for the second nonfiction week. I mean, these are just awesome magazines. I bought these from the Mysterious Bookshop. They sent out an email every month with Sherlock Holmes stuff for sale, and I snagged these ones. They're very cool, and of course they're not current. They're from a few years ago. These are from the early 90s, I think. So I will be looking through them for the second week, for the nonfiction week of Sherlock Holmes. And I'm sure I'll be reading something else Sherlock Holmes related the second week. But yeah, after I finished Prisoner of the Devil, I kind of needed a kind of a break from that kind of thing. And I read the first story from this book, The New Atlantis. There's 3 novellas in here, and I read the first one by Gene Wolfe called Silhouette. And it was an interesting story. And I'm always amazed by these science fiction stories that kind of predict things that are going to happen in the future. There's a computer in here on the spaceship that sounds very much like AI. And the people on the ship don't rely on this omnicomputer, I think it was called omnicomputer, because they don't trust it. like what's going on nowadays with us and AI. And it was actually a really good story. Fascinating. The spaceship itself, controlled by this AI that deconstructed itself and reconstructed itself to suit what was going on within the ship and the environment and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, it was a fascinating story, and I'm going to finish the rest of them. There's one in here by Ursula K. Le Guin called The New Atlantis, and A Momentary Taste of Being by James Tiptree Jr. Throughout January and into this month, I've also been reading some Mike Shane mystery magazine. I've been picking up a lot of these. I've been finding deals on some Mike Shane mystery magazines, so I've been picking up a lot of them, and I'm really enjoying these. I'm enjoying the Mike Shane stories and the other short stories that are in these. There's some well-known authors and some authors that I've never heard of before. But each story in it has something to recommend it. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been chosen for the digest, I imagine. But I've got quite a few of them now. I think I last count I have 50, and maybe I have a couple more coming. But yeah, that's probably all I'll need for now, because they're going to take me a while to get through them. I started reading from the earliest one onward, and I got through maybe 6 or 7 of them, and this one just came yesterday, and I just, I was sitting there, I read one, I read the Mike Shane one out of this one, and this is from March 1985. So I think they started in the 50s, late 50s, and this is probably one of the very latest ones. This is March 85. I think they didn't last much longer than that. But anyway, yeah, that's what I've been reading. I thought I would just kind of update everybody, have a little chat with you, and I hope everybody's doing well, and I hope you're staying warm. I will have an update very soon with more Sherlock Holmes stuff. I'll let you know what I did read, and I hope you guys out there are reading all kinds of great stuff. February is just a great month. It's so cold outside. It's just a perfect month to just sit inside where you're nice and cozy and read a good book. So until next time, I will talk to you very soon. You guys take care and keep reading.